Hello everybody, Raven Knight here, coming at you with another For Honor commentary video. This one isn't so much about toxic players that I go up against, but more about just me talking about a few matches that I was in. Today we're going to show you two duel matches in which I play a Peacekeeper both times, and I go up against an Orochi both times, but it is not the same Orochi, it's two different players. And really, I want to talk to you guys today about a couple things. I want to kind of showcase my Peacekeeper and how I fight with her and what tactics I use. And I also want to talk about these Orochis and how they play and where I think they do poorly. Because honestly, guys, I'll be real with you. Peacekeeper, I think she excels in duels. She gets a bad rep because she's not good in 4v4 matches like Dominion, but I think she does very well in duels. Orochi, meanwhile, does well in both, and I think that has a lot to do with their aggressive kind of fighting. Because of their dodge cancels, they're very fast, undodgeable storm rushes and dodge lights. They can be very difficult to deal with, and these Orochi, I felt, would be no exception. But just see how this plays out. It's kind of interesting. So I'll talk about certain moments as we get to them. But right now I'm trying out, one thing I do a lot is when I start off a fight, I don't have a particular plan in mind. I try to mix up different attacks to see what works, just to see how they play. And the first thing I think here is he's very reactionary. Notice how he always reacts to me, and then here he's getting aggressive, but watch him in a minute. This is kind of funny. So he tried to parry from a neutral heavy from the top. That was strange to me. Now watch this. I get him here. Now watch what he does. He immediately does a back dodge. I actually thought that he would, because quite often with characters like this who are so reactionary, who are playing assassins, one of the first things they try to do is when they feel that pressure, they try to do a lot of dodges. They try to dodge to get away. They try to capitalize on that. I've had a feeling you would do it, so I went for it, and I managed to catch him. That doesn't always work, but sometimes I can read that just right. Now, he's going to come at me a little bit harder this time, but I think the real problem is, and I think we see it a lot here, he doesn't do a lot of dodge cancellations. He quite often stands very still and waits to see what I do. Now, my big problem here is I ran out of stamina, so this was my mess up. But I caught him there. But you'll notice he stands around a lot and tries to do these just static attacks. It's a little weird. I don't see a lot of Orochis do this. Notice how he's always going for parries, too. I so rarely see Orochis do that. Usually with an Orochi, the usual kind of play I see is just constant aggression, aggression, aggression. Taking advantage of dodge cancellations to land your kick bash, to do dodge lights, to do back dodges, to do a lot of storm rushes. When you do that kind of stuff, you can be absolutely brutal as an Orochi because you just get overwhelmed. A player like me would get overwhelmed by all that constant attacking, so I kind of expected that here, but he doesn't really do it. He's honestly kind of predictable. He parries everything I do, and because of that, I could easily get him in a guard break if I wanted to. Notice how he's just standing there. He's not trying to do a kick. He's not trying to open with a bash. It just becomes very predictable, and that's the thing. I think one of the things you have to do as an assassin, as any assassin, not just Orochi, is you need to not be predictable. You need to move around a lot, mess up your... he left. You need to mix up your attacks, try different styles of approach, and honestly, he just kind of stuck to the same modus operandi, and that didn't help him. I feel like that really hurt him, and as you can see, it didn't go his way. Now I have lots of different tactics I try against Orochi. Some really don't work because I just get overwhelmed, and that's the problem. That's what Orochis excel at. They overwhelm their opponent. So we are about to skip ahead to move on to the second match because I don't want you to have to sit around and wait for like 3 minutes while I wait for another duel match. But you kind of get the idea here. So that Orochi didn't really play all that great. We're about to go up against another Orochi who I feel does a lot better. We're going to go ahead and skip. There we go. Alright, so this Orochi, as you can see, is a different person. And at this point, I don't know it's going to be an Orochi, but I'm still trying to get Peacekeeper up to rep 32. You can see she's real close. But then I see another Orochi, and I automatically assume that this Orochi is going to be different from the last one. This guy knows what he's doing. He knows to do a lot of dodge cancels. He's going to be very hyper-aggressive. So I kind of brace myself for that. It's good to kind of have an anticipation, but like I said, one thing I always do at the start of each match is I kind of approach it randomly. I kind of say, all right, I'm going to mix up some attacks, try different things, let's see what he does, and get an idea of what I'm up against. Yep, it's the same thing. He tried to do a back dodge, caught him with that. That's something I can usually anticipate from an Orochi. Now you'll notice that I don't always commit to the dodge heavy because I feel like some players will just wait for that to parry out of it. Peacekeeper has a very poor dodge heavy attack. See that? He was waiting. You saw where his guard was. He was waiting for that, so I was able to catch him there. don't always commit to a guard, to a dodge attack. I would never say that. Alright, so won the first round. Give him a good fight. We're moving on to the next round. Now, something he does here that is kind of funny. You'll notice that when we started, he did the first attack. He didn't do a bow. I always wait for my opponent to bow. I always give them the chance to be honorable and do the bow. If they do, great. If they don't, okay, whatever. But you'll notice he didn't do it at first. Here, though, he does it, but then immediately attacks. Like, he doesn't even give me the chance to bow. He just tries to take advantage, and I thought, okay, little scummy. That wasn't cool. You baited me into doing a bow so that you could get the advantage. But here he's doing exactly what an Orochi should do, being very hyper-aggressive. He is not completely reacting to me. He's trying to open me up. He's being careful with his moves so he doesn't waste all of his stamina. So, yeah, he's playing a lot better as an Orochi this time. Now, I do catch him off guard here, but he gets me with the dodge back light, so... Yep, that does happen. But he was playing a lot better as an Orochi. Now, not as aggressive as he could have been as an Orochi. I've seen Orochis just really spam their attacks, but he did a lot better that time. Round 3. But now watch what he does. So he took advantage of the bow last time, so I'm a little nervous to do it this time, but we show up. He does do his salute. This time he lets me do mine. And I catch him. Okay, so when you see an Orochi dodge forward, like that rush forward, dodge. Just know that you need to dodge. Anytime you see an Orochi suddenly jerk, get ready to dodge. I also, another thing I'll mention, it's a little late now, but I put him into that corner. I tried to deliberately get him into that corner because when you put an enemy into a corner like that, it makes it harder for them to do external hits. It makes it harder for them to do those wide, heavy hits to the sides, because you'll notice that he kind of got stuck in that corner. That's why he was trying to get out of it so bad, and how I could get him in the guard break. So if you can force your opponent into a corner, try to do it. It's a little hard to do, but if you can force them into a corner, try to get that so that you can control where they'll do their attacks. Alright, so this is the last round. And you'll notice he's not being respectful anymore. He's done doing that. So we catch him with a guard break. It was a little risky to pull that off, but oh, and he got me with the deflect there. So at that point I decided, alright, I'll do the same to you. Deflect. And my deflect is superior, it gives bleed. And at that point he becomes predictable again. He gets pressured, and that's something that happens to a lot of Orochis and assassins, really. When you're an assassin or an Orochi and your whole kit revolves around dodge attacks, when you feel the pressure, your first thing you want to do is start dodging. You want to start dodging to take advantage of what you can do with it. Because with an Orochi, I did the flute. I don't know why I did the flute. But when you're an assassin, you want to take advantage of that dodge. You want to take advantage of that because Orochi's whole kit revolves around his dodge capabilities. His dash forwards, his dash backs, his dodge to the sides. All of it gives him options. So if he feels pressured, he wants to fall back on those options. So once he tries to, I capitalize and do the guard breaks. So, not saying that that'll work every time. There are definitely Orochis who understand this and will know better than to do that, but in this case, it worked well for me both times. I wanted to share this with you guys to show that Peacekeeper is actually a very viable option in duels. I think that she's a lot of fun to play, and I think that these Orochis, they just could have played better. If I could offer any advice to the Orochis, I'd say, don't let yourself get so pressured so easily, and focus on being hyper-aggressive right at the beginning to pressure your opponents early, and that would be what I would say to do. But with all that out of the way, guys, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.